All right, Smash This Podcast is live. Welcome back, everyone. J-Bone here. I I've got a lot of catching up to do. I haven't been on here as often as I'd like, and I've had all these topics I've wanted to cover. And life happens, and you want to do stuff on certain days, and it doesn't happen. Now I got all these things that I want to talk about, but I don't want to do a million different videos. So instead of throwing all this on my next, say, predictions video for Elimination Chamber, I figure I'll cover a bunch of odd, separate, not odd, as in, why is he talking about that? Just different topics to catch up on everything a little bit, instead of doing a half an hour on this or an hour on that, just touch a little bit on everything I wanted to catch up on lately, and just get on here and do it. So, all right, things we're going to cover today. We're going to cover a little bit of WWE, and some things I'm going to cover on that, like the Hall of Fame, Samoa Joe, Fastlane coming up. Cover a little bit of what's going on between Evolve and Ring of Honor. Something I'd like to start talking about a little bit more, things outside the WWE, because everybody and their uncle talks about the WWE, but we're going to just talk about a whole lot of different things today. Something I'm going to touch on first before I get into the nuts and bolts of this podcast today. I saw an article on, I believe it was WrestleZone, and so to give them credit for it, these other things I'm covering are just either off the top of my head or just from all over the place. When the name Mike Adamle comes up, a lot of wrestling fans tend to snicker, laugh, think back to his time in the WWE with not so fond of memories. They tried to bring him in. He's a sportscaster. If you don't know who I'm talking about, go Google him. He's had quite the history in sports broadcasting. Had a very short time in the WWE, and it just didn't work out. Between little flubs on his part, and when you start making mistakes, the audience can really start wearing on you and whatever. And it just, for this, that, and the other reason, it just didn't work out. So just to give you just a quick little generic brief history on Mike Adamle. The article I saw was touching on him, and I was like, that piqued my curiosity, because like I said, you hear the name and you start thinking of these all little comical things from the past. This article I read on Mike Adamle is not so comical. It's actually very, very sad, actually very tragic. Talks about what he's been up to recently and what he's been battling, which, turns this somber, to a somber note. He was doing broadcasting out of, I believe it was Chicago, and you can go to WrestleZone and go check out the article and the video on there. Talks about how he hasn't been on the air for like the last year. He's basically retired, and he's been fighting what's known as CTE and also the beginning stages of dementia. And basically it's a disease that attacks your brain in related to sports injuries, because he used to play football, And what's also interesting is the man is still, he's like 65, 66, I believe they said, years old, somewhere in that. He's in his 60s. And he still works out, runs. He's still in tremendous shape physically. But when you look at him in this interview, and you could tell, no matter what he looks like, from here on down, from here on up, it's a different story. And it's really sad. Whether whether you're a fan of his or not, it's still worth checking out. So I just to sum this up, I just want to say from myself and, representing Smash This Podcast, my thoughts and prayers go out to Mike Adamle and his family, because from what it sounds like, this battle of this battle of his is not going to be easy. And if I get any updates in the future, I will try to update them on here as well. All right, now on to other more positive things. Let's touch on some Evolve and some Ring of Honor. If you're a fan of Ring of Honor like I am, and I don't talk, I should talk a lot more about Ring of Honor, because I do try to watch it on a regular basis. Sometimes it's one of those things that I do a lot of binge watching, and I'll watch like 2 or 3 episodes at a time in between watching like the major pay-per-views and stuff like that. Ring of Honor has been going through a lot of personnel changes, and kind of like losing a lot of significant people from their roster. A few things that have happened recently is they've lost guys like Steve Corino, who was on the announce table. He went to, I believe he became a trainer at NXT, is what he's starting out either now or relatively soon. It's what he's doing. Because up until a couple of weeks ago, he was still doing stuff for New Japan and Ring of Honor, working with Kevin Kelly. So I'm pretty sure as of now, he starts his new journey with being a trainer. At least that's what I'm, if you've got another story on what he's doing, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing now. I'm pretty sure he's fulfilled all of his other duties to other places. They've also lost Nigel McGuinness. Excuse me. See that 10 times real fast. He was like their Ring of Honor's basically their GM. He also did commentary with Kevin Kelly. Left Ring of Honor pretty abruptly, from what I heard. Did the whole UK Championship tournament / special on the WWE Network, and now has become Corey Graves' replacement on NXT from here going forward. Excuse me. So that's going to be quite the change to the NXT announce table. You're going to have Nigel McGuinness, Tom Phillips, and what's his name? Percy Watson, which, by the way, I think is a great addition to the announce team. I was a fan of his back several years ago. Oh man, I can't remember how many years ago it was when Percy Watson was wrestling for NXT. It was basically, he was wrestling for NXT before it is the brand that we know now. Oh man, was that 5 years ago? I'd have to look. But nonetheless, great talker, a lot of charisma, a lot of fun listening to him. And he's not a heel. He's pretty positive, and I personally think he has a lot more personality than David Otunga. That's my personal opinion, though. So, welcome to Percy Watson and the rest of that. But back to the ROH side of things. So I lost Steve Corino, Nigel McGuinness, and now within this last week, I read they lost Kevin Kelly. That's pretty much their entire announce team. Now, I heard or read somewhere that they were scrambling and to quick put together a new announce team. I don't know who they got. The one name I did hear was Silas Young, which, as great of a talker as he is, I would much rather see him utilized in the ring than on commentary. But I'm sure this is all just like last minute, like scrambling. Okay, who's a good talker? Who are we gonna get? And I did see a wrap up on Facebook from one of the previous shows, and there is another gentleman, a tall gentleman with glasses, and I cannot remember his name. So I don't know if he's just a fill-in guy or if he's the new permanent replacement. And I'm sorry, I don't know his name. But I'm just saying that there's been so many changes to Ring of Honor at their announce table recently, quite quickly within the last month or so. So that's going to be interesting to see who they get as a permanent replacement, and especially for their TV tapings and everything. When I started watching Ring of Honor on TV when they got their Sinclair deal, 5 years ago, 2012. And Kevin Kelly was like the main guy. And I obviously recognized him from WWE, and he's good. He's one of the better ones that's out there, in my opinion. He was one of the guys that was, I think, a good drawing point to bring people in to watch. If you've got recognizable faces on a new brand on television, that's a positive thing. Guys that made me watch that was like, world's greatest tag team. You got Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. Boom, right there. Two of my old favorites from the what do they call that era after the Attitude Era? The Aggression Era, whatever they called it. Eddie Guerrero, Benoit, all those guys at that time after the Attitude Era. You had a few faces on there like that, and that was a hook for me. So, it seems like it's almost like another generation is passing in the Ring of Honor brand as far as who represents it on TV. So that's going to be really interesting to see who they get for that. Now, to touch on the wrestling side of it, as far as wrestling roster faces, there's been a significant amount of talk over the course of the last couple months as far as people jumping ship, guys, and contract issues. Guys like Kyle O'Reilly, who's working without a contract apparently right now, and or Bobby Fish. Adam Cole also is, from what I've heard, is going to wrap up his contract sometime in April and then going to be jumping to WWE. And I don't think that's a given, because I think from what I've heard, Adam Cole's gone back and forth with that idea over the course of the last year as far as what his goals are in wrestling. So there's that. And those are all kind of up in the air. The main thing that I want to get to, though, to touch on this and do a kind of a segue from talking from Ring of Honor to Evolve, is something I heard very recently because I've been watching Flow Slam, and they do little news updates as far as what they're bringing to Flow Slam as far as wrestling brands, new contract signings and such. The Evolve shows coming up WrestleMania weekend, and I don't remember the date, whatever that is. The dates of their two shows surrounding April 1st, whenever they are. They talked about a tag team that just got signed, which is, I don't think they're going to keep these guys as a tag team, but seeing as they're being brought in together from a separate brand, they put them together for now. That's kind of what I'm assuming they're doing. The names I'm talking about are Donovan Dijak and Michael Elgin. Now, Michael Elgin hasn't been working with Ring of Honor for a while. He's been doing more New Japan Pro Wrestling over the course of the last year or so, but he still has been on Ring of Honor television because they have that, that relationship. Donovan Dijak has been actually a guy that I have when he started on Ring of Honor television over the course of the last couple of years. He was one guy that I did not. He wasn't a draw for me. He was a really tall, lanky guy, and I just didn't, it just, I don't know how else to say it. Just wasn't a draw for me. I just didn't like him. But then over the course of the last couple of years, in the matches he's had and the rivalries and his in-ring ability for a tall guy, really surprised me. He's doing stuff in the ring that most really, I don't want to say giants because I don't know how tall he is, but compared to a lot of the other guys that he wrestles in the ring at Ring of Honor, you could practically call him a giant. But his in-ring abilities and the things he does, like some of his, high-flying stuff, he doesn't do a lot, but when he does it, it's wow. It's it's shocking. It's amazing. It's like I said, it's stuff that you don't usually see a big guy like him do. And he put out a very interesting video on his Facebook. No, not his Facebook. Well, he has a Facebook, but the video's from his YouTube channel, and it's talking about his situation between Ring of Honor, his contract being up soon, and it just basically sounds like, it doesn't go into a lot of detail, but it's just very interesting because it sounds like he's venting and he's very frustrated. And to sum it up, he's got kitties. Just opening the door to my office so that he can get out. All right. Back to business. Donovan Dijak. He's got, which, if you listen to this promo that he put on his YouTube channel, it sounds like he's got one foot out the door, and yet he's got this opportunity in front of him. He's facing Marty Scurll, the TV champion, soon, whenever the next big thing is. And he sounds like he's going to get this championship, take it, and then go defend it somewhere else, which is really controversial. I mean, we haven't heard stuff like that since the Attitude Era, namely when you think of, what's her name? Medusa? going to WCW and taking the WWF Women's Championship and dumped it in the garbage on WCW television. This it had that vibe. It really did. It was really interesting. And Donovan Dijak is also a guy. While on Ring of Honor television, he always had someone talking for him. Like, oh God, who's his manager on there? Prince, I think it's Prince Nana. Another interesting guy. So that this whole thing with Donovan Dijak is very interesting as far as sounds like he's leaving Ring of Honor and going to Evolve. So not the upcoming Evolve shows that are coming up within the next month, but the ones at WrestleMania weekend. He and Michael Elgin are going to be making their Evolve debuts there. So I am really looking forward to that. I cannot wait. So yeah, a lot of things going on with Ring of Honor, people leaving, which makes you wonder, is there something going on behind the scenes at Ring of Honor that's making all these people leave? I have not heard anything. In fact, the one thing I could say about Ring of Honor as far as what I've been seeing lately on TV is overall their production and what they're showing on TV as far as, because usually it's just someone coming through a generic curtain. They've got a whole stage set up and their whole presentation, everything has gone up like in value a lot. Which makes you think that, okay, Sinclair's putting some money into Ring of Honor. So what's going on at Ring of Honor that all these people are leaving? Is it just a sign of the times and the brand is dying? I don't know, and I'm not, don't take that for me as I'm trying to throw shade on Ring of Honor. That's not my attempt here. I'm just wondering what's happening because I do enjoy Ring of Honor, watching them on television, and I understand there's always influx of new people, new talent. They've got a new, what is that? The Prospect tournament where they have new guys come in and battle each other for a spot on TV. That stuff is fun. And, they've got a great world champion in Adam Cole. Even though he's probably going to be leaving soon, it's going to be really interesting to see how the company evolves over the course of the next several months with a new announce team. Excuse me. Old faces leaving, new faces coming in. I mean, obviously, there has to be some positive things going on in the company. You've got guys like the young, Diet Coke just killing me today. Sorry. You've got guys like Jay Lethal and the Young Bucks who signed new multi-year contracts from what I've heard. I haven't heard any details, but the big main one was like the Young Bucks. So this is going to be a new year. 2017 is going to be a very interesting year to see where Ring of Honor goes with all this. And when more significant news does come up, I'm going to try my best to cover it on here. I don't I don't review the weekly shows and things like that, but there's been enough going on in Ring of Honor as far as, roster wise lately. I figured I better at least touch on it. Now, to segue, like I said, from that into Evolve, I did want to touch on, I mentioned the Michael Elgin and Donovan Dijak making their debut soon on Evolve events on Flow Slam. I wanted to do a review for the last two shows. I believe it was 76 and 77. A Heroes, they called it a couple different things. It was Chris Hero's last independent shows before going back to the WWE / NXT. And I've been trying to here and there on Twitter on these videos when I talk about, stuff outside of the WWE, because I have Flow Slam. So I'm trying to tell people, if you're not happy with the WWE and you're looking for something new, I implore you, please go check out Flow Slam. There are so many different companies, and they keep adding stuff all the time. You got Evolve, you got women's wrestling, Shimmer, great talents in there. You've got stuff from the UK, several different companies that just signed. There's a new Lucha brand that's up and coming. They're doing new shows in the UK, Lucha style shows, all these new shows they've been promoting that are coming up within the next couple months. So that's something, because I love Lucha Underground. So I've been looking for something to talk about or to cover until Lucha Underground comes back on a weekly basis. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And they also have actually several talents from Lucha Underground on their shows. I believe Ricochet is on there. I just saw a new show they're advertising, guys like Angelico. Oh gosh, who else is on there? Oh, this isn't Lucha Underground, but Will Ospreay's on there. I think Sami Callihan's part of their shows, but nonetheless, a lot of shows coming up for that brand, and I'm assuming they're all going to be on Flow Slam. I'm hoping. So crossing my fingers for that. And when those do come, I'm going to do my best to talk about them and or review them. But yeah, so many great things coming up on Flow Slam. But back to Evolve. Chris Hero's, we'll talk about Chris Hero's matches a little bit, and a couple other highlights that I really enjoyed from those last couple shows. I believe they called them a Hero's End, is what the combo of the shows was referred to. Chris Hero had a show, I believe it was 76. He headlined both shows. They gave him that privilege to do that. He certainly deserved it as part of his send-off that weekend. The match, the whole night of Evolve 76 was plagued with different little ring mishaps, where they had all sorts of problems with the ropes. Like halfway through the night, they had a problem, I believe, with the second rope / turnbuckle. And I don't remember who broke it or how it broke, but I know that was like the start of it. And then by the end of the night, between Chris Hero and Keith Lee, which was Keith Lee's debut, by the way, man, they literally destroyed that ring. There was like one ring rope left by the time they were done with their match. And when you're missing ring ropes, that really does hinder you from doing everything you want to do in the ring. I don't know how else to say that, but it really does limit you. And then also, obviously, depending on what kind of match, what kind of people are in the ring as well. If you got two big ass guys and all they're doing is, fist of cups and just clobbering the shit out of each other, okay, you could take that in the ring, out of the ring, into the crowd, wherever. But these guys are talented. Obviously, don't want to just punch each other all night. They want to, they have a moveset. They have things they want to accomplish in the ring, spots, whatever. And man, I give Chris Hero and Keith Lee a lot of credit for doing everything they could to make that match special, because man, when you lose one ring rope, it's one thing. You lose another one, and wow, it's like, what are you going to do? But just, man, just want to give a shout out of love and respect to those guys for putting on the match they did in the circumstances that were surrounding everything. Oh, you know what? Talking about roster things from Ring of Honor to Evolve, Keith Lee is another one of those guys. He was in I don't know if they had a tag team name or not, but Keith Lee was in a tag team with another very large black guy from Ring of Honor, and they had matches with teams like War Machine and stuff like that. War Machine's another one of those teams that's like going all over the world now. In fact, they were just in town here for a Brew City Wrestling show, and I missed that. I wanted to see that. But yeah, Keith Lee is another guy who went from Ring of Honor to signed it was a WWN contract or an Evolve contract. Either way, he's with Evolve now. So that's another new face that's did the jump from Ring of Honor to Evolve. Man, and he's one of those big guys that can really move, and it's going to be interesting. And they did reveal a lot of the new matches that are coming up. I believe Gabe put out a newsletter within the last, what date are we at here? Within the last day or so, as far as updates for the upcoming next shows and the shows surrounding WrestleMania weekend. Sorry, I get a little winded. I've got this back brace on, and sometimes it's a little tight, so sorry. Bear with me. But yeah, the Chris Hero matches. The first night with Keith Lee, great match. A tremendous amount of mishaps in that match with the ring ropes and everything, but they still did a great job. The next night, his last match with Zack Sabre. Oh my God. Everyone talks about Omega and I almost said Shibata. It's not Shibata. Omega versus Okada, excuse me, from New Japan, from Wrestle Kingdom 11. Everyone is also talking about John Cena versus AJ Styles as far as a new match of the year candidate. I'd like to throw another one in there for you folks. Chris Hero in his last match with Zack Sabre Jr. for Evolve. This match was hard-hitting. This match was stiff as hell. These two guys beat the shit out of each other. And it was pretty much the best match of the entire weekend. If you have a way to go see this match, please go. If you don't watch anything else from that whole weekend of the two shows, 76 and 77, go watch Chris Hero's last match with Evolve. It is it's unbelievable. I would definitely put it in my year of the match candidate list for 2017, and we're barely into this year. The matches we've seen so far between, different brands, between, New Japan, WWE, and Evolve is one of those brands. I'm telling you, the wrestling is ridiculous. If you're a wrestling fan, not just sports entertainment fan, I'm telling you, you've got to watch Evolve on Flow Slam. Just the Evolve events on Flow Slam will be worth your money. I'm telling you. Let's see. But I don't want to just talk about Chris Hero. Oh, they did put the farewell speech from Evolve 77, I believe, on Evolve's YouTube channel. Go watch it. A little bit of shenanigans happens, because it's not all just him. Stokely Hathaway gets his 2 cents in. There's an appearance from ACH. There's another one I'm going to talk about. Jumping ship from Ring of Honor going to Evolve. Hell, I'll just jump into it. Man, he had his debut weekend. ACH had his debut weekend from 76 and 77 in Evolve. He had the first night was against, come on, brain, Matt Riddle. Unbelievable match. And it really was an emotional match in the sense of this is like almost ACH like reborn again. I mean, he had great matches in Ring of Honor, but he he only went so far. And I feel like him, like he had that ceiling in Ring of Honor. I feel that being a part of Evolve now, he can break through that ceiling. And I think he's, to sum it up, as simple as corny as it sounds, he found his smile again. Okay? He's happy wrestling again for a company like this because he can really show off his talent, and he feels like he has a chance to really do what he wants to do, to have a bigger / better stage, honestly. He had the second night against, which I think was kind of considered an upset win. Who did he face? Was it Fred Yehai? I believe he beat Fred Yehai. And that match, oh my gosh. Fred Yehai is another one of those guys that he's really fun to watch. Certainly a name that, and a face that you want to keep your eye on. He is one half of the tag team champions for Evolve, along with Tracy Williams. And, and the more I watch this brand, the more I'm becoming familiar with the names, who they are, and I'll be able to do better reviews, but right now I'm just touching on a bunch of different things, okay? What else? Oh, one last thing I want to touch on, and then I'll get into more WWE stuff. One guy who has grown to be one of my favorites in wrestling over the course of the last year. Starting with Lucha Underground being their champion for a long time, Matanza, the man under the mask. Spoiler alert. Oh no, don't reveal it. Okay, whatever. It's Jeff Cobb. He had his debut 2 shows before that. So that would have been 74 and 75, if my math is correct. Horrible at math. Don't get me started. Jeff Cobb had great matches this last 2 shows as well. He and the Evolve champ, excuse me, Timothy Thatcher, had a tag team match for the tag team champions, Freddie Ahai and Tracy Williams. So that right there, there's tension because the following night, Jeff Cobb had a match against the world champ for the championship. Of course, I'm rooting for Jeff Cobb. He's one of my new favorites. And it, for a brief moment, it really seemed like Jeff Cobb was going to win. I don't know who was going to. He didn't win. I don't know who's going to dethrone this Timothy Thatcher, which, he is an unbelievable wrestler. Don't get me wrong, but he has been champ for what? Since 2015, I've heard, like 2 years. I'm not sure why he's been champion in Evolve for 2 years. Obviously, he is a tremendous wrestler. But the fact that he's beaten everyone for the last 2 years it's almost unheard of. I mean, the last thing that I could compare that to within the last, decade recently would be CM Punk's reign as champ for 400 some odd days in the WWE. And I'm going to, when I think of it, when I have more time, which, well, unfortunately I have all the time in the world now, but, I'm going to go check out, because I have the subscription to Flow Slam, and they recently, within the last month or so, have been putting a ridiculous amount of older Evolve shows on. So I want to see where this, how this journey of Timothy Thatcher has gone, who he's defeated, why he's still champion. I know one of the reasons recently is he has Stokely Hathaway. I also want to see how that's come into play as well. So, but as far as upcoming shows, I've heard that Freddie Ahai has a match against Timothy Thatcher for the Evolve Championship, and whoever wins that one the next night is going to face Zack Sabre Jr. I don't care who wins it. Those matches are going to be ridiculous. In fact, just from the vibe I got over the course of this last couple shows and listening to Chris Hero's farewell speech and everything inside of the speech as far as different people talking, you almost have this vibe like Timothy Thatcher's time as champion might be coming to an end soon. You had that vibe. You have to watch it, but you have that feeling. So I'm going to be following that very closely. Like I said, if you're a wrestling fan and you're looking for something new, it's worth your time and money to go check out Evolve, because, man, I can't say enough about it. And if you want to see where a lot of WWE's new talent is coming from, guys like Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, DIY, and NXT, so many new faces have come from Evolve. So, and that's another thing, with all these guys leaving Evolve and going to WWE, there are a ton of new faces in Evolve. So it's a really exciting time for Evolve. That brand is really growing, changing, evolving, Not to sound too corny about it, but it's the truth. Oh, last name I'm going to mention. I know. I'm going on and on about Evolve. Last name I want to mention that really surprised, impressed me, Darby Allin. My first impression of him is, and please don't take this as an insult, I mean this as a compliment. I consider him almost to be like a modern day Spike Dudley. Now, this kid is only been wrestling for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and the things he does and puts his body on the line is just sick. So in that aspect, I compare him to like an old school Spike Dudley, but his wrestling ability is much, much better. He's not just a kid out there swinging and doing crazy shit. No, Darby Allin is just go look him up, okay? Just go look him up. You won't be sorry you did, okay? Can't wait to see what else comes from him in the near future. And he's also in FIP, which is another wrestling brand on FloSlam. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how he, grows with these different wrestling companies. Now on to some WWE stuff. First thing I want to cover is the Hall of Fame. The recent announcing of the induction of a team that probably inspired several current tag teams. One, namely, the Young Bucks. Another one that you could say that the WWE certainly was inspired by in putting out a team like the Rockers and a host of others throughout the years. I'm talking about the Hall of Fame induction of the Rock and Roll Express. This one shocked me. It really did, because most of the time, you can kind of guess, or you hear little things as far as where this year's class is going to go, who's going to headline it, who's going to, there's usually a tag team. They talk about someone who's deceased. There's a headliner, and then a couple odd ones thrown in there for good measure to round out your class. And I don't mean that insulting. I'm just saying that's how it usually goes. And it's usually, a tag team that had a significant amount of success in the WWE. This team was probably, as far as being in the WWE/WWF, was only in that company for a hot minute. But their legacy is so much bigger than that. The Rock and Roll Express has had a rich history in the NWA, success in the Southern Territories, down in WCW. And it makes me really happy as an older wrestling fan, and how do I say this? I watched when I started wrestling, it was back in the golden era of wrestling. It was Hulk Hogan, Savage, Beefcake, the Hart Foundation. List goes on and on and on. Back in the early to mid 80s. But there was also stuff I used to watch that was not WWE. I'd go over to my friend John Gilliard's house. And I was thinking about him earlier. Man, I had a lot of fun going over to his house, and we would watch wrestling on, say, like Saturday morning. And we would watch like NWA, WCW related stuff back in I'd say like the mid 80s. And you had teams like the Four Horsemen. You had different, I say different factions of the Russians, but there was always a Russian team, you had, oh gosh, now my head hurts from just trying to remember all the different tag teams back then. The Midnight Express, all these different teams. And one team that my friend and I always talked about and cheered for on a regular basis, watching them on TV, was the Rock and Roll Express. Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton. Just, it makes me so happy. Like I said, it makes me so happy as an older wrestling fan to see a team like this that is not necessarily, it didn't get a big push in the WWE, but still had a rich legacy of wrestling itself. To see them get recognized and saluted at the WWE Hall of Fame makes me so happy. So I just want to say congratulations to the Rock and Roll Express for your induction into this year's WWE Hall of Fame. I can't wait for WrestleMania weekend coming up in, just a couple months away, 2 months away, give or take a day or two, to see them get inducted. It's also going to be interesting to see who inducts them. Obviously, it's going to be someone from back in the day. The first name that comes off the top of my head, honestly, would be a name like Jerry Lawler, who I know has a lot of history with them from being, from the South, or Ric Flair. Now, part of me, now hearing that, part of me immediately thinks, okay, because he's with the Four Horsemen, it would be an honor for him to induct the Rock and Roll Express. And yet sometimes Ric Flair tends to attempt to steal the show and makes it more about him than about who he's inducting. So my thought is, okay, maybe he's not the best one for the job. But if he can talk about his history with the Four Horsemen and the Rock and Roll Express in that aspect and keep it off of himself, make sure the focus is on the tag team, that'd be okay. I'd be okay with that. Or maybe they could, really pull a surprise and bring in someone slightly controversial like Jim Cornette. That'd be something. Because obviously now, you know what? I think he actually if you watch that highlight video that the WWE put out on Monday during Raw, there is some footage of the Rock and Roll Express with Jim Cornette. And that's interesting because usually when you think of Jim Cornette, you think of the Midnight Express and all the other tag teams that he managed. I did not know that he managed them. I'm guessing that was when it was maybe a little later in the Rock and Roll Express's career, thinking like WCW days. I'd have to go look at the footage again. It's interesting. But yeah, I'm extremely happy about that. Congratulations to the Rock and Roll Express for getting into this year's Hall of Fame class. Let's see. What else am I going to touch on? I wanted to do a Royal Rumble review. I didn't because, you get all these things piling up as far as videos you want to make, subjects you want to talk about, and life happens, stuff happens, and you just don't get around to it. So I'm going to take just a second to talk about the Royal Rumble. In general, I thought the pay-per-view was really good. Okay. I did review it on the Ramblin' About Wrestling podcast. So if you want to hear a further in-depth opinion from myself on the Royal Rumble, I invite you to go check out the Ramblin' About Wrestling podcast, where Dizzy and a bunch of us got together and talked about it. My preview and predictions for Elimination Chamber coming up will be on this Friday, by the way. And I'm hoping to have a guest or two on there with me for that. So watch out for that. All right, back to the Rumble. One reason that I didn't talk about it like I wanted to is because this may sound a little strange. I saw so many negative things about the Rumble online. It almost made me just, number one, it was laughable. But number two, it just deterred me away from wanting to talk about it. It really did. Obviously we're all fans of wrestling. That's why we do this. And we're all allowed our own opinions of wrestling. But some of the things I heard out there were just, I can't even get into half of them. It's just, oh my God. It just, I don't understand. I think a lot of wrestling fans out there, and I'm going to pinpoint a certain younger generation that just loves to just, troll the shit out of everything because they have nothing else better to do. They just complain and complain and complain and complain. And once you get on a roll of doing that, that's all you do. You look for the bad in everything. You nitpick shit to death. And pretty much that's all you're able to do. And they do it so well too. Really, they do. I tweeted something out. It was either that night of the Rumble or it was the next day. And it was basically my opinion of all the nagging and bitching and moaning that I saw online of the Rumble. It was, oh my God, there's no Hogan. Oh my God, there's no Benoit. Oh my God, there's no Eddie Guerrero appearance at the Royal Rumble this year. I'm out. That's it. I'm done. Cancel the network. I'm done. And that's how ridiculous everyone was starting to sound that night. It's like you want all these things. I mean, yeah, we all have our expectations and stuff, but I'm not saying that somebody was actually looking for Hulk Hogan that night. Okay. I'm just saying the extent of ridiculousness that the fans were starting to sound like. That was why I did that. People complaining about why Randy Orton won. This was one of the most unpredictable Rumbles within the last 10 plus years. That's why I enjoyed it so much. Yes, I had guys that I wanted to win. At one point I wanted The Miz to win. At another point I wanted Sami Zayn to win. But then you threw in all these other big names, like Taker was a part of it. Lesnar was in there. Goldberg was in there. So I think that was more of a, obviously those are eye-catching names. Those are, icons. And you you're drawn to those and to think that, oh, okay, it's obviously one of these three guys who's going to win it. And, and a lot of people had that opinion. I did as well for a while. As soon as The Undertaker threw his name in the hat, I was like, oh, there's your winner. It's obvious. But it didn't happen. He was eliminated by Roman Reigns, which a lot of people think now that's where this Mania is going. Now, we've got something different coming up for Fastlane for Roman Reigns. He's facing Braun Strowman. So how that's going to go from Fastlane into Mania is going to be really interesting, because if Roman's supposed to face Taker, how is that transition going to go? Is Taker going to show up at Fastlane? That's really interesting. What else about the Rumble? The match between Styles and Cena, like I mentioned a little earlier, unbelievable match. And I know a lot of people were upset at John Cena winning. I obviously was rooting for Styles to keep his championship, but I predicted that Cena was going to win it. So, yeah, I was right about that. I wasn't thrilled with that, but like I said, it's one of those things where you kind of assume as a wrestling fan that John Cena is going to be a transitional champion. And by meaning that he's not going to hold on to it for a long time, it's so that it can go to somewhere, someone else. Oh, geez. And, a lot of people are assuming that with the odds being against John Cena at the Elimination Chamber coming up this Sunday, that it's going to go to someone different. Obviously, there's several other options. But I'll get into a more discussion about that this coming Friday for Smash's podcast prediction of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. What else about the Rumble? Yeah, like I said, I wanted guys like The Miz or Zayn to win, thinking maybe if Zayn wins, he can go on to headline WrestleMania with Kevin Owens and, kick that feud up again, but then also put the feud to rest, because those two aren't done yet. I seriously think they've got a lot of unfinished business. They've been doing a great job on Raw, keeping those two apart. One opinion I had over the course of several months ago was they should have taken Zayn and put him on SmackDown. Because, yes, the popular opinion is, yes, they want him to fight forever. Obviously, you can't. It'll get stale after a while. But they've been doing a great job of keeping them apart. So now maybe leading up to Mania, those two will face each other again. But Zayn didn't win the Rumble. Would have been a great story to build up, very similar to like a Daniel Bryan kind of underdog story. You know what I mean? I don't know. Overall, the whole pay-per-view, in my opinion, was really good. The matches were fun. I don't know. I'd have to go back and see what all the matches were, because they're just not coming to me right now. But overall, my opinion of the Royal Rumble was it was a lot of fun. It was unpredictable. There's 1,000,001 haters out there who didn't like it for this, that, and the other reason. And I'm just here to tell you that I thought it was pretty darn good. And it's going to be really interesting to see where it all goes. As far as rivalries building and leading up to WrestleMania. There's so many different options out there. And I know there's people that have already built the entire card of WrestleMania 33 out there. And honestly, I don't. I'd be shocked to know if WWE has it all laid out, because as much as they do shit last minute, and then injuries pop up like Rollins, well, there throws a whole wrench in whatever he was going to do with Triple H. Although I did hear within the last 24 hours that they're still planning on it. So, barring some rehab over the next few weeks for Seth Rollins, maybe he could still put on that match with Triple H. We'll have to wait and see. Man, yeah, it's gonna suck if Rollins has to miss another WrestleMania. What else? Oh, two more things we're going to touch on, and then I'll wrap this up. Samoa Joe making his debut in the WWE on Raw. Number one, yeah, it bittersweet that, he attacked Rollins and then Rollins got hurt in the same, run-in. I think it's great. A lot of people expected and thought that Samoa Joe was going to debut on SmackDown, including myself. I did not see Samoa Joe showing up on Raw. But the way they're doing it, the way it's unfolding now, I think it works out really well. That Samoa Joe is Triple H's muscle, But how much more they're actually going to use those two together is going to be interesting, because Triple H was not on this last Monday night. He was on the night he was on last week. Triple H was not around this week. So are they keeping Triple H off TV until Seth Rollins shows up again? That might be where they're going with that. Was great to see Samoa Joe this week show up and have his contract signing. That was fun to watch. Interesting seeing Samoa Joe in a suit. I don't think I've seen Samoa Joe in a suit since his TNA faction run with the Main Event Mafia. You can have a little chuckle at that. No, I look back at some of those moments in TNA quite fondly that Samoa Joe had. He had a really good run. I think he was also drastically misused, but he had some great wrestling moments in TNA Impact. The contract signing was done well, with Mick Foley being upset, and it was a little awkward, and I think it was meant to be that way. That little tension between Mick Foley and Samoa Joe and Stephanie, all kind of wrapped up. And then who comes out? Roman Reigns comes out. I heard several opinions online of, why Roman? Okay, now I'm going to throw back at you. Why not? He is, whether you like him or not, okay? Whether you like him or not, he is still considered the company's, or one of the company's number one baby faces, all right? So why not use Roman Reigns? And the fact that you have an opportunity for a debut match of two big-ass Samoans clobbering the shit out of each other, I'm sorry, that made me very excited, okay? I thought those two put on a big show, especially the fact that Samoa Joe had another kind of a run-in, you know. Roman Reigns wasn't even to the ring. Samoa Joe just, you know, hurried up down the ramp and started clobbering the shit out of him right there and pretty much killed him throughout the whole match. And then, you know, we didn't get a clean-cut winner because Strowman came down and then completely destroyed Roman Reigns, which was fun to watch, I have to admit. I'm really starting to like where they're going with the whole Braun Strowman thing. I wasn't a big fan of the 4-on-1, but it also helps in a way build up Braun Strowman because once he, you know, basically used all 4 of those guys as toothpicks, you know, he went on to, you know, go yell at Foley. And honestly, I have this feeling like because Mick Foley's surgery is coming up soon, at least I think it is. I think I've heard he's okay to have his upcoming hip surgery. Could they use, obviously I don't want to see Mick Foley hurt on TV, but would they use some kind of angle to where Braun Strowman does something to Mick Foley to cause Mick Foley's exit from TV for a while? I can see that. I think that'd be a great way to do it. Or a rift between Samoa Joe and Foley. Obviously, those two have some history, a la TNA. So that'd be interesting as well. I could see either of those happening. But we'll have to see, you know, what happens there. I mean, I like Mick Foley on television, but you know, I've been back and forth with my opinions on him. If they would just quit putting him in those dumbass looking suits. I understand the whole plaid thing, but dear God, the green plaid suit, that was like, no. That was like a drawing point. Is no. As in drawing the line, like you crossed that line. So yeah, overall, my opinion of Samoa Joe being on Raw, his introduction, contract signing, and everything surrounding it, loved it. So congrats to Samoa Joe. You've, like I said, 18 long years to get to this point. You've made it. I can't wait to see where it goes. As far as where it's going to go to Mania, as far as a rivalry, obviously, I think Samoa Joe is going to have something really cool coming up for Mania. What exactly, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe a triple threat between Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Samoa Joe. 3 big guys just clobbering the shit out of each other. Just a thought. We'll have to see. And last but certainly not least, the headlining match that was just made for Fastlane. Number 1, Goldberg coming out and accepting the challenge for Mania for Lesnar made me happy. And I know there's a lot of people shitting all over this. And you know what? I'm a big Goldberg fan, okay? I've been a fan of his for a long time. I have missed him in the ring. So whatever they're doing with him, as long as they're not doing something completely weird, like, you know, I don't want to see Goldberg going after, like, say, the Universal Championship. I don't want to see something like that. Whatever they're using him for, I want to see used on a big stage, big scale, big match, you know. And there had been some rumors recently, that he might be put into a match or rivalry with Kevin Owens. I read those rumors. I heard those rumors. I did not believe those rumors. So when I saw Goldberg come out on Monday night and get in the ring with Jericho and Owens, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh my God, are they actually doing this? If my wife can contest to this, I was like a giddy little school kid. I don't know, just the thought of Goldberg actually going after the Universal Championship. I I know that's going to cast a lot of different opinions. Mine personally, I love it. I it's a chance almost for, you could say, like redemption for Goldberg, because he was kind of mistreated his last run several years ago in the WWE, and now whatever he's doing towards the end of his wrestling tenure, his wrestling career, in front of a current WWE universe of fans, and they're doing really big things with him. And yeah, a lot of it has to do with Brock Lesnar, which we've seen before, but I'm enjoying it. I really am. And the fact that he now has a chance at the Universal Championship against Kevin Owens in my town, Milwaukee. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do my best to get to that show. I might have to sell a testicle or something because, well, the tickets are a little expensive. But I'm going to do my best to get to that show because I want to see Goldberg beat the shit out of Kevin Owens. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Kevin Owens. I think his run as Universal Champion has been It could have been better. I have mixed opinions on it because I think the stuff that he's doing with Chris Jericho is gold. It's comedy gold. Unfortunately, it does involve the Universal Championship, which throws a ton of comedy on your main title. They also did, WWE did the same thing with AJ Styles and his WWE Championship. And I was not a fan of that. The fact that you had a guy like, what the hell is his name? Ellsworth beat AJ how many times? And obviously James Ellsworth did not become the WWE champion. Thank God. That I would not have been a fan of. I felt there was like too much comedy involved in your biggest storyline. And it made the championships kind of look like a joke, was not thrilled with that. And I know there's, probably people out there watching this going, well, then why are you happy with the whole Goldberg Kevin Owens thing? Because I'm a fan of Goldberg. Okay. And obviously, if they're going to make him champ, it's probably not going to be for a very long time. It's probably going to be a championship run that's a month long, and he'll lose it to Lesnar at Mania. And I'd be okay with that. But then, that bears the question, okay, then, Lesnar goes away for several months holding the championship. I don't think so. I think Lesnar would be another one of those transitional champions where he would go back to someone on the current roster who's there week in, week out. Does that mean it goes to Roman Reigns? I don't know. Would it go to someone like Strowman? There's that option too. He's getting quite the push. And I actually really like where they're going with all this stuff with Braun Strowman. The 4-on-1 was a little but I understand what they're doing with him. They're pushing him as a monster, which is smart, So there's a lot of different ways that this whole Universal Championship run can go over the course of the next several months. Is Goldberg probably going to win the championship in Milwaukee at Fastlane? yeah, from what I'm reading, and may not be the popular opinion, but yeah, it does look like it's going to happen. And I'm excited about that. Hell yeah, I am. You know, I like, and you can hate on this opinion all you want. I don't care. I don't care. I'm a fan of Goldberg. I love him, and that's what they're going to do with him. You know, so be it. And I can't wait to see it unfold. I think it's going to be really fun. So yeah, we're going to see a lot of different weird things over the course of the next couple months leading up to WrestleMania, and I'm really excited for it. So we'll see where it goes. You know, could it completely turn into something drastically different? Yeah, it could, but we'll just have to wait and see. So that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to talk about. Little long-winded on this one. Usually I like to cover just individual topics or reviews. This one had several different ideas, or ideas that I wanted to get out of my head. They were sitting up there, getting funky, getting moldy. Got to get them out. So did that today. Very happy about that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. A lot of different things coming up. Like I said, Elimination Chamber preview and predictions coming up in a few days. And what else? I'm going to do my best to try to, like I said in past videos, cover more stuff from Flow Slam. It's really fun, exciting to see what they're all putting on there between Evolve, Shimmer, oh man, I can't even name them all. There's all these different upcoming things. There's also a thing coming up called a style battle, something completely new to me. Basically a championship, or not a championship, excuse me. It's a wrestling tournament of sorts. So I'm actually really excited to go check that out. I missed the first one. I'm going to catch the second one because it's got some names in there I'm curious to see. Sami Callihan's in it, Drew Galloway, and it's an 8-man tournament, so I'm looking forward to it. What else? Following up any news with Ring of Honor, and hell, might even touch on some TNA soon. Who knows what happens? I've been kind of loosely following that. Not real thrilled with where they're going, seeing as they just stuck the championship back on Bob Lashley. That really turns me off. Hell of an athlete, yeah, but the fact that they put the championship on him again, that's a big turnoff for me, you know? So that makes me not want to watch TNA. I was happy with it being on a guy like Edwards. So we'll have to see where TNA goes over the next course of the next quarter, several months. Seeing it looks like Jeff Jarrett's running the show again. That's another very interesting piece of news. Might cover that soon, might not. Not too much else. Not really too much else to say about it other than that. So there, it's covered. So that's it for this one. If you listen this long, God bless you. Thank you for listening this long. And we'll be back in a couple days for Elimination Chamber thoughts with I'm going to try my best to get a couple buddies in with that one to cover that. So till then, see you. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.